It's estimated 1 in 3 Canadian women have experienced domestic violence at one time in their life. Being in an abusive relationship not only affects their personal lives and those of their children, but also their lives at work. Of those experiencing domestic violence, 82% say it impacts their performance on the job. The Women's Shelters Canada is launching a new campaign to raise awareness on the issue and also to inform employers of their legal obligations to support their workers experiencing domestic violence. Joining us now is the Director of Communication and Advocacy, Kaitlin Geiger-Bardswich. Good morning, Kaitlin.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. First of all, let's talk about these numbers. They're shocking. 1 in 3 women in Canada are experiencing domestic violence. Is this growing? Is this a growing problem?
So that's at some point in their lifetime, so it's not at any given time, but it is still a huge number. And we are seeing increases in gender-based violence and in the severity of violence. So for example, before the pandemic, it was 1 woman was killed every 6 days by a current or former partner. Now we're seeing it every 5 days.
Wow. So how does it spill over from their homes to their workplaces?
Yes, this is a question we get a lot, but abusers are very clever in the way that they try to make their lives difficult for the people that they're abusing. So it could be something such as, sabotaging sleep or childcare, sabotaging the way that women can get to work, so hiding keys or not giving money for public transit if there's financial abuse. But it can also be things where employers might think an employee is distracted or just not really interested in the work because she's constantly looking at her phone, but that's because an abuser is constantly texting her or calling, and she knows if she doesn't respond, things will get a lot worse.
So those are just some signs that you're talking about. What other signs are there that there could be something wrong with the employee?
Well, as you said, 82% saw their work negatively impacted. So it could be that suddenly their performance is different. It could be that they, as I said, seem distracted or they seem fearful when they're leaving the workplace. They could be asking people to keep an eye out if their partner shows up at work. So that statistic or that report we talked about also showed that over half of women who experienced domestic violence said that their abuser abused them at or near the workplace, so it can also physically come to work.
Okay, and so employers might look at this employee, think they're slacking off, but they're actually being terrorized at home. And so legally, what are employers entitled to do?
So legally, employers are have the responsibility to keep their employees safe. Occupational health and safety often depends on the province, but it will include sexual or domestic violence. And they have responsibilities to create policies, to have and also just to be able to. I think it's a moral responsibility as well to support your employees, but also to recognize that there are options. So there is domestic violence leave that is available, and so employers should know that that's available. And in Manitoba, that's 5 days of paid leave and then up to 17 days of protected leave, which means if a woman needs to take a leave of absence to deal with things, she can't be fired from her job.
Okay, and so tell us about this campaign you're working on right now.
Right, so with all of these statistics, we're seeing that women are losing promotions, they're even losing their jobs, and then they're losing their reference letters. So they're not getting reference letters because of that perceived poor performance. And so Refer Her is a reference letter to employers on behalf of these women to sort of say, these are the signs, you need to recognize them, you need to respond appropriately, and then you need to be able to refer your employees to appropriate services. And so we're promoting the domestic violence in your workplace training, which is something that we've developed through funding from the Federal Department of Women and Gender Equality. So the whole campaign is really to drive employers to the referher.ca website in order to sign up for the training.
Okay, well, this is really great advice, not just for the employer, but also the employee who might be getting abused at home. Thank you, Kaitlin, for sharing this with us.
Thanks for having me.